House looks good. Can't think you need much beyond door and window sensors. I included in the cost 3 keypads.
My husband wondered, would you ever just sell the stickers for the windows and a sign for the front lawn?
Signs come with the sensors, I'm afraid.
Of course they do.
Virginia State Penitentiary, Monty Ralph Rissell.
We're from the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Behavioral Science Unit.
Scientists?
We're from the Behavioral Science Unit.
You think I could get some Big Red?
Big Red.
Pop. You know, like soda?
We'll see what we can do.
That'll depend on the insights.
I can't get stuff like that in here.
What do you say we get down to brass tacks? For starters, how did you choose your victims?
Victims? You really think you can get me some Big Red?
Look at me, Monty. Let's stay on track. You want to diddle around? We'll walk out of here. We'll go have a nice, leisurely lunch, wherever the fuck we want, and then take the picturesque drive back to Quantico. What's the rest of your day look like? What my partner's too polite to say is, we're talking to men like you because we can't understand how someone could fuck up their life so completely before he's barely old enough to vote.
Girlfriend's a year ahead. She goes off to state college. But, you know, we keep in touch. We write. She sends me a letter. Tells me, shocker, there's all these guys up at school, you know, there's all this, She tells me in so many words she wants to ball other guys. I hop in the car, gotta see it for myself, and what do you know, there she is making out with some dork. Car pulls into the lot. She takes off, screaming, runs through the parking lot down a ravine. I catch up to her. I get her in a headlock. I choke her.
You had a gun. Why not use it?
I wanted to cool her off. Your science buddy might have something there. By the third girl, you could say I had perfected the routine. Showing mercy.
What? Come on, kid. You don't expect us to buy your mercy horseshit.
I think what Agent Tinch means
I think I've had enough science for one day.
Let's move on.
I wasn't going to reprimand you.
Here's the thing. Monty Rissell danced around a bunch of psychiatrists when he was a kid. Did the same thing when he was on parole. He's an Olympic-class bullshitter. Why do we think he's suddenly being honest with us?
But we don't think he's being completely honest. Do we? We just need to extract what's useful and discard the rest. Now she says she'd rather us get her room so she can pick us up in the morning. Honestly, I'm a little ticked off.
I didn't see it coming, Holden. You could have been killed, and I didn't see it coming. It's one thing if it's the job, but some fucking Pinto comes shooting out of nowhere.
Okay, so there are 2 triggers, one right after the other for Rissell. Actually, maybe trigger's the wrong word, too facile.
Also in law enforcement has more than one meaning.
What about stresses, stressors? Let's make that our term of art. Stress is more internal anyway, it's more appropriate to our focus.
So 2 stressors set Rissell off.
Her letter, obviously.
So the girlfriend writes him a Dear John letter, and he...
Rissell cracks. But he doesn't call her or write back.
No, he goes down there.
He stalks her like a hunter.
Not like a hunter. He doesn't kill the girlfriend. He only watches her with her new beau. Big difference.
Beau?
Okay, so what if Rissell doesn't mean to kill anyone at this point? He's still on track for rape, but it's this first victim's compliance that just kind of pushes him over the edge.
So he kills the first one because she likes it, or pretends to?
It's dominoes. Her compliance makes him angry. He throws her out of the car. She tries to escape.
Where is it? He says the whole thing is just fucking chaos.
He needed to reassert control.
Exactly. Which means that the victim's behavior is also a stressor. I mean, it may be that they can't change the ultimate outcome, but they can affect when and how it happens.
That is exactly what I was thinking, which is why I asked the question.
But
what?
isn't that just life? Your girlfriend dumps you, you're trying to be intimate with someone, and it goes wrong. Obviously not that wrong. But it seems like Rissell just couldn't hack life.
Well, what else is a criminal except somebody who can't function in society? And yeah, if we want to be reductive, we can say that these men can't handle the normal stages of
Why
development.
do I get the sense that reductive is your worst insult?
Not at all. I meant to say that you were right. How would most men feel if they were being intimate with a woman and they sensed that she wasn't enjoying herself? So yes, what happens to these men is normal, but the way that they process it is not. That's our goal, to dig into the why. like you did with Kemper.
We're headed to Altoona for road school. We'll try and see Rissel again when we get back, if he'll see us.
You know that this is going to take twice as long if you can't do the interviews full time. What is it? A question of money, of institutional rigidity, scheduling, what?
All of the above.
You know, I've been in academia all my life. Let me see what I can do.
Hank broke the fucking thing over my head.
A pathological liar who murdered 5 women sees himself as the victim. And we're giving him a shoulder to cry on.
We're not giving him a shoulder to cry on. We're not flattering him. See how he's deliberately trying not to look at us? He's screwing up the nerve to approach.
I put the over-under at half a minute.
I'll definitely take under.
That's a bet.
Loser buys dinner.
Look out, he's on the move.
You guys mind if I bother you for a minute?
Sure, what's up?
And she had been sitting at the dump the whole 4 days.
We'd see more insect infestation and animal trauma on the corpse.
They were, I guess you'd say, amputated. We have not been able to locate them.
Was this post-mortem, or?
Coroner said she was already dead. Yes, sir. There was an incision from her forensics backed it up. It's all about forensics now. I am starting to appreciate that.
And the ironing board, you take that as well?
I mean, we dusted it for fingerprints and everything, but
But you do think that the unsub scalped Beverly and then draped it over the ironing board? Everything in this photo has meaning. If the unsub meant to display the hair, that means he was saying something. He could have put the hair anywhere.
Right. No, I get it now. As soon as forensics confirms it's Beverly's hair...
I'm sorry, what?
Well, we shouldn't jump ahead of forensics, am I right?
I think in this case, we have a dead body missing a chunk of hair, and we have a big chunk of hair nearby, so maybe we can go out on a limb and assume that...
I think what Agent Ford is trying to say, in his own way, is we're behind the 8 ball here. We've come late to the party. We're probably going to have to go over ground you've already covered. Witnesses, crime scene. We don't mean that as a challenge to you. It's not any kind of a criticism. We're just trying to catch up. Am I right, Agent Ford? We may ask some obvious questions, and maybe even a few you haven't thought of. But it's not a contest or a competition. We're all on the same side.
I'm curious why you're cutting this guy so much slack.
He's never seen this kind of thing before. He's rattled. It's not his fault. Without a doubt, you have more experience. But why rub it in his face? I'm not trying to make you feel bad. Maybe a little. The point is, local cops want to catch their guy as much as we do, maybe more. For them, it's not just theoretical, it's where they live.
This is where your focus should be. Not on the crime scene, not on the corpse, not on the schematics. We've learned that this is a crucial detail and not the only one.
Based on the facts Detective O'Kasich laid out earlier, our methodology tells us we're looking for a white male. These crimes rarely cross racial lines. He's probably around Beverly's age. A killer will usually choose someone smaller and weaker than himself.
He's a loner. Hunts at night.
I'm sorry, hunts? Is that a figure of speech?
Close-knit community like this, you would have spotted that by now. I think our man is an outsider, probably a drifter. Most likely, he'll move on from here and kill again.
Had to be a drifter, like you say.
Some stranger passing through town. All that pretty hair caught his eye. He needed to possess it, then destroy it.
You talked to the fiancé?
I mean, there's only so much you can get out of a man in that state. Benjamin was still in shock. You gotta take all that into account.
Well, I'm sure you know your people. But let's just cover our bases. And let's try to get him cold. Make some excuse when you call. Don't mention the FBI, or even the murder. Help us get an unguarded response.
As soon as Benjamin gets back into town.
Back into town?
You let the fiancé leave?
He went up north for a bit to be with his relatives. You need to be with family at times like this. He'll be back soon. I'll vouch for that.
Events we process as good news sometimes hit these killers the wrong way.
He came to us. Why does he need an alibi?
Sometimes the killer will insinuate himself into the investigation.
Even report his own crime?
Still not clear how that puts you at the dump.
Path comes in pretty close.
Does it? You see any sign of a hiking trail out by the dump, Bill?
On the other side of railroad tracks up the hill. Probably just looks like a bunch of trees from where you stand.
But if there's no clear view from the dump to the trail...
Are you really FBI? I took care of my business, I collected my dog, and I went to the police. Finally got up the nerve.
The nerve to do what?
To buy her a drink.
He's too old and too married.
He was a drifter until just recently. Beverly Jean rejected him.
If a man like that took Beverly Jean, he'd draw it out, make her suffer.
You saw the photos. He must have tortured her for hours.
Those wounds were inflicted posthumously. Can't forget that.
You said that before. What difference does that make? Wouldn't mind checking it holds up.
Were you aware that your husband made overtures to Beverly on several occasions?
Didn't I just say he had a thing for the poor girl? I mean, I'd love for him to get a good scare bothering a girl half his age, but
Okay, her husband made a pass at a younger woman. He's an idiot. But so are a million other men. And I don't see any of the anger you've been talking about.
So lo and behold, we're back to the fiancé.
Follow your own logic, Bill. The anger makes no sense in a young couple either. This could be the first killing in a sequence.
Sorry if I got off a little shaky there at the start. I'm gonna stick with Alvin. If it's all the same, keep it posted.
So you're in the middle of an ongoing investigation.
A local detective asked for our help. What else could we do?
Tell them that you have more important things to do with your time.
We've been consulting with local cops for years. No reason to change that now.
My assumption is that you're good at your job, which means that you're going to be more focused on solving an actual crime than the theoretical work we're doing here.
And that's bad?
It's not a question of good or bad. We can't end crime no matter what we do. But in the long run, I think that our project could have a deeper impact than solving a single murder.
We can do both. It's not an issue.
So what jumped out when you were talking to Rissel?
He seems aware of the trap of his childhood. How things might be different if he was allowed to stay with his dad.
Kemper said something similar, didn't he?
They're both playing the victim, looking for sympathy.
I think it's more complicated than that.
I think you're both right. I mean, it's self-pity, absolutely, and the psychopath understands how that plays to his audience.
Exactly.
But the complicated part is that they actually believe it. They have to. I mean, if they admitted that they rape and murder for pleasure, it would destroy them. There's a tension. They need to be seen to have power over someone, and yet circumstance demands that they erase the only witness, which means they have to do the whole thing over again. It must be hell.
So the self-pity angle works. You have sympathy for both of them.
Now, of course, how else could I do my job? Do Kemper and Rissel have other common traits?
Is that what you're doing with these cards? Figuring out similarities?
And differences? I've been going through their files. I'm trying to frame an overall taxonomy, except I don't know where to start.
Start with the crime scene. Kemper's like a general, planning his campaigns. But Rissel
didn't even intend to kill his first victim.
all of his victims seem spontaneous, and he just walks away when he's done.
Whereas Kemper took photographs and dissected the victims and was very good at hiding the remains. So, could we say systematic and anti-systematic?
Maybe something a little less... something even a beat cop could understand straight away.
Right. Like organized and disorganized.
Would I have invited her to go out with us if I was interested in her?
I've seen men do stranger things. For a man who picks up strange women in bars, you have your scruples.
I'm not intimidated being around women who are smarter than me.
Could I get a Manhattan? And will you have another round?
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Carr, Unit Chief Shepard, nice to meet you, finally.
You as well.
Dr. Carr, I'm aware of your consulting with Bill over the years and your help framing certain psychological concepts with the BSU.
Yes, a handful of times. Special Agent Tench was...
I assume that meant you understood how things were done here at Quantico. I assumed the same for your cohorts. You might think it is my job to impede your progress with my insistence on timelines and established protocols.
No, sir, not at all.
That is not my job. My job is to provide guidance and quite a bit of protection. You have stepped outside the shade of my umbrella, and you are now exposed to direct sunlight. I applied for grant money from several sources, anticipating a response months from now. Much to my surprise, the Law Enforcement Assistance Administration was already aware of our needs and activities.
I see. I had no intention of embarrassing you, Unit Chief Shepard. I was at a fundraiser for the university, and I was talking to some...
Yes, you were talking to people outside the FBI about something you were not even supposed to be aware of. The LEAA explained that the application was anticipated. How could that be, I wondered. It seems they know more about what's going on in our basement than I was comfortable including in the application.
I so apologize.
Sir, this is my fault.
Your research has been awarded $200,000.
What?
There's more. As I said, I applied to more than one place for funding. The National Institute of Justice heard about the LEAA, and they are in competition, so the NIJ has awarded you an additional $185,000.
You can't be serious.
This amount of money comes with considerable scrutiny. And I'm not talking about bookkeeping as such, although you will certainly be required to keep meticulous records. I'm talking about Congress having a real interest in everything we do. So much for the protection I might have afforded you. Congratulations, I suppose.